Hello, everyone, and welcome to Authentic Journeys, the podcast where we dive into the depths of self-discovery, vulnerability, and healing with a spirit of adventure and playfulness. Today, my guest is Gioel Gioacchino. Gioel is a passionate writer, an intercultural practitioner, youth engagement consultant, and someone that I'm proud to call my friend. For 12 years, she has been the Director of Research of Recrear International, a non-profit organization comprised of young social innovators from around the globe, and has worked in research with more than a dozen different organizations. Fellow member of the community El Juego, Gioel is an indispensable member. Hello, Gioel.
Hello. Hi, Luis.
How are you?
I'm good.
What do you think about that intro?
Very, very formal.
Yeah. I tried to copy Jay Shetty. Yeah, so the last two episodes, we are in the first chapter talking about the topic of passion. Yeah, passion being related to either relationships or also to to what you do in life. And for example, with this bio, what I looked up also in LinkedIn, it sounds like you're very passionate about research. And I just wanted to know more about that. Like, how do you find your passion, or if there's any, or how is it for you?
Yeah, there definitely is. No, for me, the discovery was a bit like when I was in my early 20s. I started to. I really wanted to bring people together. I'm here, so I like to be with people. And I had this desire to start organizing events and bringing people together and just seeing how what was happening when we were like hanging out and talking about what was moving inside of us, almost like to sense the ideas that were in the air, what was important. And then we got all together and several events, and then we started like going to visit groups of young people and organizations, and we had offered some workshops, and we would do these agreements where we had no money at all, of course, and we were going there.
Is like you and your group of friends?
Yeah, we and this group of people that I started playing around with, and we found a name. We said, okay, now we are Recrear, but it was really a group of people that we had the same interest, no? And we started doing these workshops, and we did these exchanges where we would call these youth organizations, and we would say, look, how about we come to this workshop, and then you give us food and accommodation, and we figure out how to fly there or get there or travel there. So we would do some little fundraising for the flights, and we would go meet these groups and stay there for like a couple of weeks and do workshops and get to know the organization. And so we would go to these places with these workshops, and then people were taking us as like the expert, but we were just
passionate,
just trying to figure something out to exchange. And so there it was like, damn, like they think of us as the expert, and we are the one that are learning all the time, so it feels wrong. So we need to figure out how to, like, I don't know, find a different way to present this. So we were like, oh, actually, you know what, we are the one learning, so we're doing research. And so what does it look like to do research with other people? And that was like this moment of starting to say, okay, what does it look like to create exercises to investigate certain questions that we have about how people are experiencing their life. And that's how we developed all this methodology. And for me, it was the way that I found in that moment to respond to this desire to connect with people. And giving it a form, giving it a way, a shape, and so that's how this passion for people found its form in my early 20s. And then over time, we said, okay, well, there is no freaking way to. We were meeting all these organizations, and they all had these great ideas and these visions, and they were very different from each one had their vision, and they seemed to be very different, but also very similar. There was something in the spirit that was similar, but they were all struggling with money. It was like a big deal. So I was like, okay. I started having this question like, could I make this passion of mine my job, and then also could I like what this is the issue that they have.
Yeah.
And so then I started saying, okay, what is happening around that? Where does the money come from? How does an organization become sustainable? Like, how can I live of this? And this became like this research question around like the way money influences the way we see the world. That became my PhD question.
Oh wow.
And then I did this PhD, and I actually felt throughout my PhD I didn't do it with like this heaviness or this need to be, you know, doing something just for a degree. I really found this like format of the PhD to do what I wanted to do, which was like explore this question, and got to know all these different organizations that were having all these different dreams, but they were figuring out how to interact with the formal world, which didn't feel very passionate.
Yeah.
Sometimes feels very stale. The words that they use in the formal sector, and all these alternative visions, and how they could have these like conversations together. So then this was another questions that motivated me a lot of what happens around funding and money. And for me it was very interesting, because it was almost this a friend of mine told me this sentence once with a very assertive voice, and it really stuck with me, which is in Spanish is la utopía hay que caminarla, like you need to walk your utopia.
Sounds like a Che Guevara phrase.
Yeah, but in the moment he said to me, it really resonated, because it's like, oh yeah, you have this dream, but until it is this random dream, is kind of there is something beautiful but also empty. And then I was seeing a phenomenon that is happening in all the people and organizations that are really passionate, which is that there isn't a difference between the horizon that you're trying to reach and what is happening in the present. So that you are walking in the present, you are expressing in the present what you want to get to. And that, for me, the people who are really passionate do that. They find the dream that they have now, here and now, and not like as something that is like, I want to become, I want to do.
Yeah, like you with your PhD, that it's not like, okay, now I'm suffering in order to get to a point, but actually you found like the way to like live it and enjoy it, and do what you want.
I really enjoyed the process. Then the big crisis came afterwards.
When you got the dream now.
Yeah, it was so weird. I got this piece of paper, and then I was like, something like a sadness came into me. I cannot still put my finger on it, but something that I learned there is this important to celebrate and to ritualize. Because in the way PhDs are, I did my PhD in England at the University of Sussex, and there is this like weird format where you like defend your thesis and then you do the corrections, and so by the time you're done doing the corrections, you're like, okay, there's not, then I didn't go to my graduation because I was traveling, and I didn't have this moment of like really celebration. This was a tip that Hector gave me. That he always talks, our friend who Hector
Aristizabal.
When I met him in full like post PhD depression, he told me like rituals are important.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's where I met the community, so it all worked out.
Yeah. Yeah, and also we see that these rituals are exactly like this celebration, and also like the end of something, of a phase, and the beginning of another one. So it gives also hope for, okay, now I'm starting something,
Totally.
Other than just, okay, I just finished and I'm empty or something like that.
Yeah, and I can really see in my life all these different cycles until now. And when that phase ended, I was telling you I met the community, and it was in this moment where I felt something within me almost like dropped like a level deeper, with all the pain as well that comes with it. As if it was like always this like, okay, now I have this objective and I'm going to there, and then I find passion in another place, like deeper in the belly, with this experience of seeing like almost tasting the quality of my own pain, And in that, like, really seeing what happens when we do that together. And this is what I learned here, like when we permit ourselves to go to that place of pain together and taste it together, and then it's just like, wow, something else comes with it. And there are all these waves of like waking up, like almost other senses. I think with this experience of being here, I experienced being with others that, as I said, it was like my initial passion from when I was very young, in a very different way. And now it's all this experience of like accompanying, and in this accompaniment, like everything that happens there with the possibility to, or the need almost to feel everything that other people cause in me, and what I feel, and to move with that, to dance with the other person and find like this relief that we accompany also here. And so that has been a whole other level of passion.
Yeah, also like you talking about this, how we accompany and how I see you accompanying. I see that there's also the passion with poetry, with literature comes very handy, in the sense that, I don't know, I see you how you share your vision of someone with this like very poetic tone that maybe it's something harsh that you're saying, but you say it in a way that it's like you're opening up someone with the beauty that it's being expressed, right? So it's like a poem that says something hurtful or sad, or that is hard to hear, right? But it's also like comes with this beauty in it.
Yeah, it makes me think about I think my favorite right now, like poet, philosopher that really moves me is David Whyte, who has this beautiful book called Consolations, where he almost does like a dictionary of important words, you know, alone or friendship, and the possibility of language to like open something that is there but is not being seen, but we are all sensing it, and just when the words appear to touch on the texture, it's like if something exists and then you put color in it so it's visible, and then it appears to everybody, and then everybody can pay attention to that because the word was able to make it visible. And so then all this attention that we are experimenting here with, this is really incredible. I mean, I don't know if you read this last piece that I wrote about quantum physics, which I know nothing about, but a few weeks ago we had this with this quantum physics workshop, and it really blew my mind. I felt this really this surge of passion in the workshop. It really woke up something in me. I was like, wow, it's amazing, you know, how all these different currents of thoughts, or you know, from science to spirituality to poetry, we are all going in the same direction from different angles. And I'm gonna dare to try to explain
Let's go.
what I learned there.
I'm gonna get Ashley soon, so don't worry.
Okay, great. So then if I say any bullshit, she can correct me. But there is this experiment around like the behaviors of quantum particles, which is the very smallest matter that we scientists have figured out, that the material world.
Atom, subatomic particles.
And observing how they behave, and they were saying, okay, they were trying to figure out, does it behave like a particle or does it behave like a wave? And they figured out that it behaves as both. And when you are looking at it, so where there is observation, it changes behavior. And this is very mind-blowing, because this is something that here we see so much at El Juego. We see so much when how our observation changes the quality of things. When we are in a circle and there are like 25 people paying attention, giving all their attentions towards a process, it's like it really amplifies, and it's like something is able to happen just with that attention. And I find that really, really beautiful. And then the same day that I was going into this, that I took part in this workshop, I was going through this book about like healing with hands, like very, very different field. And there was the same graph of the quantum physics of showing these waves, and showing how when we are identified with ourselves, when we think of we are something, we only are that for the moment. We cannot be anything else. But at the same time, we are at the same time all these different infinite possibilities that we are. But because we think of ourselves as something limited, then we are all only that. And that science almost like makes the same conclusion about how quantums behave. When you're observing them, they behave only as particles, but when they just express themselves freely, they behave as wave, and there is no limit to it. So this really, like, it's something that is very blowing my mind as a almost like new knowledge that is coming into our society and is gonna change completely the way we see ourselves and we see reality, and it's coming from all these different directions. So that makes me very passionate.
I can hear. And also, this very new knowledge that at the same time Buddhism had like so many intuition with
Totally.
it, this like that we are just particles and we're not matter. And I don't remember now, but it's like I've done this Vipassana and they were teaching us several of the lessons of Buddhism, and it was very similar also to this feeling of, okay, right now what you're doing, also we are creating the reality, that this belief of Maya, like the world that is just appearance, and how we are actually, we create what we are thinking. If we believe that everything's gonna work out, then if we go with that energy, then it does. But if we are more like seeing all the world as just the negative parts, then we'll also call more of these parts as well.
Absolutely. And you were asking me at the beginning this passion for research, which I really feel very strongly. And I guess what research is creating knowledge. And so that is like, what is knowledge? Because as you are saying right now, like, this knowledge already exists. It's like with the word, what I was saying, that the word opens up something that is already there.
Yeah.
So we don't discover, we like recognize, and we when I'm passionate about research in a way where there is no big researcher that comes and says, okay, this is the word is like this, but instead where with this methodology of participatory action research, the whole philosophy behind is that you create knowledge with others, which is, for example, a lot of what we do here when we at El Juego, where we live together, and with what with the experiences of each one of us, like, we learn from each other. And when we see like these repetitions, also we see, okay, I'm feeling this and this helps and this doesn't help, and somebody else has a different experience, and we see these collective processes. And for me, that's like the knowledge that really matters and there's resonance, because we are recognizing something together. It's something that happens with.
I never saw it like that. Like, I know we've been called like human lab, right? But see, what we do in everyday circle, or talking about process, or just like sharing, or when we talk about our kids and how we're gonna educate, or what we feel about the behavior of one or the other, that's also, it could be called research, in the sense that we are just sharing how we're experiencing it and hearing others and creating like this more a wider angle or vision.
Yes, and the way when I speak about the community, we speak about this collective intentions that we have, and which we say that is like what guides our experience here, and is the only fixed aspect that we have.
What is the?
You don't know.
I know it, but if you want to share it.
Yes, so in Spanish, first because it sounds better, is por lo mejor de todas y para todas, por lo mejor de todos y para todos, por lo mejor de todo y para todo, amor y libertad. So it would translate to English as for the best of everyone and for everyone, for the best of everything and for everything, love and freedom. And I like to say that this is our research question, because when we explain this intention that we have, we say, okay, this is our intention, but we don't know what's the best for me, for you, for the river. We have no idea. And we don't know what is love, of course, and we don't know what is freedom. This is what we are discovering together. So we are moved by this intention without knowing what it is. It's like we are searching for this experience of love and freedom, but without knowing in every situation what that is. And so for me, this is right now like the deepest research, that I'm doing with maintaining this focus in all those moments that we all go through, where we're feeling sad or lonely, or where we're feeling confused, when we don't know what's going on. To stay with that intention is really helping me, is really inspiring me.
Wow. Yeah, I love to have this vision of this research. Also, like how I described the podcast in the introduction, is the idea is to open up topics and talk about them, and that I found out that it's not necessary to find answers, but to create questions and open up dialogues and listen to different angles. And that it already opens up like the freedom to choose to do, okay, you listen to 10 people instead of just like you in your own head, and you can have 10 different options or more. And that's, yeah, exactly, that's more freedom.
Yeah, and this is what happens in research. Usually you start with a question and you end up with 10 more. and that's if that doesn't happen, you didn't do good research. Because you say, okay, I realized this, we observed this, and so what does it mean, and what can we do from that, and how does it move us, and what else do we want to look at? And in every research at all levels, I feel this happens. And so wow. I think it's beautiful. I think you're doing research too with this podcast.
Yeah, I love it. Finding like this different way to see it. Also, as we were saying, right? It's just like sharing about it. Now, I can see it like that, and gives more enthusiasm. I don't know how to say it. I'm already enthusiastic about it, but it's like having another way to see it, like makes it deeper, or bigger, or wider.
And something else that I feel like saying is that if I think about all the research I've done so far, of everything that I've learned so far and everything that I want to learn ahead, there is the moment, like this moment, is so beautiful. Like we're in this, this is an audio, no? So they don't see where we are. That's right. I forgot about the camera. You should have told me I would have brushed my hair better.
Sorry. I like to be more natural.
But it's just really beautiful to be here with you in your casita.
Yeah.
It's very special. I will not forget this moment. So thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I really like it. And so still hard to believe that we're living in this huge place and sharing life with like this group, this research, these travelers, these adventurers. And now we're having kids around and opening up and traveling. It's very exciting.
It is.
Yeah.
Makes me think about this moment that now is like 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. There was I did almost a year of research in Cuba, and that was a very big moment for me because I was researching how young people were interacting with nature in Cuba. At the time I was living in Canada, and there is so much of this attention, not enough, but definitely is a big topic right now, like the environment and climate change and everything that is happening around the natural world and the role the humans have in the natural world. But many times the way it's spoken about is so technical. There is this like, the world is, everything is going to shit, and we are not doing it right, so I was really interested in going to see, what is happening in Cuba, because I had a really good friend that I was living with from Cuba, who was an environmentalist, and I was not so familiar. I was not in that field yet, and I thought it was important, so I wanted to go there and learn from this context. And in this year, I had for the first time, all I learned in this research is that you defend what you feel. That was the sentence that summarizes what. To really be in the situations where I could see how young people in Cuba had a connection with nature, and they really felt it, and the environmental movement was moved out of that. It wasn't so technical. and then from this point onward to arrive here, and to arrive now 10 years later in living in such deep connections with nature, where there is this constant dialogue of like, oh, there are more mosquitoes right now, what is happening, what does it mean? Oh, there is what's happening with the water. And what is the water?
Rain is very important.
And water also as emotions, as like sadness, and what is our role, and what is our role at the level of accompanying nature, but also singing to it, and singing for the rain, and observing how we move in this territory that has received us. And the whole experience of arriving to this territory that now we call our home. And I remember arriving here and really feeling like, whoa, I arrived somewhere that has a spirit, and it's not my home yet. I feel like I don't know how to like, I need to meet this territory, and all the process of like the first months of arriving here and just dedicating yourself to that. They were very, very beautiful. It was I have memory of this. Now it's more than 3 years. We're right.
Yeah, more than 3 years.
And the first like 6 months of being here, just like this, the entire systems of like my body, but also our organism as a community, like all of us, like meeting this territory. Wow. It has been really beautiful, this journey of meeting this land.
It reminds me also, I think the first week that I arrived, I arrived like 2 months later than everyone. Well, the first group, let's say, that were fixing the roof of the main house, because Ilam was young, 6 months. So I arrived and I felt completely lost.
Me too.
Disoriented. And the first thing that I did was like, someone told me that there's a horse and I wanted to ride it. And that was Camellia, like this, well, very traumatized horse from the previous owners, that she would just gallop as soon as you sat on her. And I remember just galloping, and I hadn't actually galloped in 20 years. I did it when I was 15 in Argentina. So, and that actually was like so much adrenaline and so much like attention. And when we arrived to a fence and she couldn't run anymore, she stopped. And there was like, whoa, okay, I'm here now. And I feel that really helped me for the first like introduction to the land, let's say. I feel like, okay, I'm here and now, wow, I almost died, and that was very scary and exciting. Now also that you're saying these talks about climate change and it being very kind of cold and mechanic or not connected with it, I remember this phrase or this joke that said that someone asked, you're the type that likes nature, and this phrase would mean that we are not part of it, but we're animals, just a little smarter.
Maybe
because the brain is so young compared to all other organs, right? So it's like it's the teen that says, oh, I'm the one in charge. But actually also I love this phrase that says, I used to think the brain was the most important organ until I found out who was thinking it.
It makes me think what you're saying, this experience of one of the first times that I went to the river here. I went with Jenna and we went to the river, and we went to the bottom of the river, which is this small river that comes out of the mountain of San Agustin. I don't know if you can see it from the video, but it's right in front of us. And we left all our clothes at the bottom of the river, and we started walking up. And we were walking up in silence, naked, and on both sides there is just forest. And I was feeling a lot of fear. I mean, of just snakes we could find, the insects we could find, just everything was very there was there was a lot moving through me. And we were just slowly walking up, and there at some point we stopped, and we sat on a rock and we looked around, and I had this this very strong awareness that this was me, was happening inside of me, that this was like a space that I could also find inside of me, in my inner world, in my system. And this almost like mutual recognition, you see outside but you see inside as well. And this division, this illusion of divisions, that nature is different from us, is so absurd, no? And really, I'm very fascinated by the sky. I mean, I think my favorite Instagram account to follow is Nesa, because he puts all these photos of planets and galaxies and black holes. I'm like, wow. And to see like this, or to just imagine, because I can't, it's very hard to just imagine, you know, the galaxies and all these bodies that are in the sky and all around us. And at the same time, you know, I feel that more and more here, when we meeting somebody new, or when we are meeting people, it really feels like you're meeting a galaxy. Like, you know that you're meeting a galaxy. And that's, I think, the most beautiful realization of spending a lot of time living in community, that you start seeing like the spirit of each person, you know, okay, that everyone is so different, so unique, like each person has their own spirit. And I really imagine it as a galaxy. And when you are like a galaxy meeting another galaxy, it's like, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, I had this vision of, okay, so if someone is the galaxy, we just know like the main, you know, like Mother Bear or the Capricorn, you know, we know like the lines that we do between the main stars, right? But there's so much more than that.
Yeah, and I never understood that actually, about these lines that we do is like imaginary lines, right? They don't really exist. It's just it's like what we see. Like, we see a galaxy and we see a few things that we imagine that like a...
It's part of our, what I heard recently is like our brain wants to make sense of things that don't make sense, right? So it connects the dots, let's say, in many different aspects. Even in memories. What I heard recently has nothing to do with it, but and they were talking about how we can believe that something happened. Like, for example, we see a man running down the street and we're like, oh, maybe he forgot to turn off the gas, right? And we just lock that thought as what's happening and put it down. And that's it. That's the reality right now. That guy is running to his house because he forgot to turn off the gas stove. And that's how we go around the world, like 80, 90, 70, however percent of like our perception is actually the brain saying, okay, that must be it, and never trying to confirm or deny it.
And this is another passion of mine, like stories. I think this is a passion that we share.
Yes.
Storytelling, and has been something that in my work with research, I really try to bring together, because many times we do a process of research and then it's very hard to share this knowledge, and so stories are very powerful to share in a way that people can recognize, it can resonate. And at the same time, here we also see is this paradox about stories, because it's in a way is one of the most unique aspects about humans that we are aware of, this capacity to like invent stories, to share stories, to have stories be to have stories from very ancient times. As a kid I loved like Ulysses, and there is the story of his trip around. But at the same time, we also here we see at El Juego how these stories are sometimes like really the beginning and end of our pain. When we can get rid of a story that we hold about ourselves, we can be so much more free, and at the same time it's so powerful as humans, and it's so painful. So it's this paradox about story and storytelling that is really beautiful, I think.
Yeah, as you say, like, what they have both in common is there's this power, and how you use it can put you down, because I have this story, I'm like this, and they said this about me, and so I can never get out. Or also the hero story that we all have, like these how do you call them, like the hero, the magician, the archetypes.
The
That we'll
archetypes.
connect with them, and they're so ancient, they're so old, and I feel that each story has its own like archetype, even if it's just like the ugly duck, that's a hero also.
Totally.
And yeah, I feel that that's also very powerful, like how we can connect to our ancestors through these thousands of years story or archetype that can actually unite us, and like I see the power in stories also with that, right?
Yes, and then there are all these stories that we hold collectively, and they have like so much more power because we are part of this collective consciousness. And I feel that maybe that's at the essence of the most transformative part of research. And I was saying all this research that is happening parallelly in all these different fields, is that the biggest shift that they can make is that they change the stories that we tell ourselves about reality, and that we can tell new stories, and with these new stories comes different possibility to see reality in a different way. And then that can be very freeing, or it can be just another moment in our collective consciousness. But I hope that and this is I think what we are doing here, to relate to his stories in a way that they give us more freedom, rather than they just change something slightly, but we're still in the same in the same pain. For example, what you were saying, the stories that we are separate from nature, that's a story. It's a narrative that we have, and it's it's one that creates a lot of pain. And when we see ourselves as part of it, it's so much more recognition of ourselves.
Yeah. I have a question for you. What are some skills or habits that you practice or improve regarding to also like research or other like passion that you have?
And one that we practice together is writing. One that I really love is free writing, just using writing as a way to like empty out and listen to myself. I think in everything, in all the different aspects of what I do, which is whether it's accompanying people, carrying out research, or writing for pleasure, there is this need to be empty, this need to at the same time be aware of all the identifications, the emotions, the feelings, the needs, everything that is happening to us, and at the same time be empty of them to be able to be in the present. And I feel that free writing, which we do a lot together, so but it's just the practice of even putting a timer for 10 minutes and writing without stopping, and whether if you get stuck, just keep writing, and it really empties out. And that's a practice that I really love. And then in terms of like a practice that I've here, like going to the river, singing, I really love this experience. I mean, I'm not a great musician, but I like to play around with the ukulele, for example, and just with a few notes, seeing how words and notes can go together, and inventing songs and allowing for songs to express what I'm feeling in the moment. Sometimes it's frustrating because it happens a bit with the free writings. They are songs that going with the wind. I don't remember them, but I don't record them. I don't write them down. But to have singing be singing with the ukulele and expressing what I'm feeling in the moment, it's a really beautiful practice. Also because I feel with the voice and with the music there is something else that gets activated that goes even farther than just when I'm with my pen on a notebook. And the possibility to do it in nature, and to have also like, and you can hear it now, all the birds, all the insects, the river be part of the song in the moment. It's really beautiful. Last year I also got to know this other instrument that is I don't know what it's called. They're like these two balls connected with a string with like maracas sound that you play with one hand, and you make like this rhythm. And to just walk around the land and sing with those, because it's easy to carry in my bag. And that's another practice that I really love, like making the most of our walks around the land, because here we only move walking, as you know, so for to go from one house to the other. And especially I like it at night, because I really like walking at night. There is this like stillness, and darkness has its own spirit that I find very inspiring. I used to be a lot more of a night person, now a bit less. I'm discovering also mornings, which is big news for me. But I love walking at night and singing. And then reading as a writer as well, it's really beautiful, like reading very different types of literature and observing while I'm reading, like, okay, how if I put myself in the writer, how do they structure the sentence, and where do they put the commas, and how does this piece evolve? Like, that's something that I feel really passionate about, like in improving my writing, is like reading.
Yeah, also something about this 10-minute writing exercise that, and I feel it's connected with what we were first talking about, the quantum physics experiment, that is like, it's different if you write knowing that someone will read it than if you write to yourself.
Yes. That is a big topic, because I do for work also a lot of technical writing, and then I also blog, and I also write very like introspective pieces that often I just share with like intimate friends, and I haven't found like a place and a life for everything that I'm writing. But it's so interesting to see this difference when I'm writing just for myself and when I'm writing with someone else in mind. And it's a lot to do with this quantum physics, and I feel when I'm writing just for myself, there is like a different rawness that it's harder to achieve when I have an audience in mind. And at the same time, when I have an audience in mind, there is this possibility this desire to communicate something, and so I feel both have a lot of power. But the emptying out is usually not good literature, you know. It's just like, oh my God, I'm writing right now, but I really don't feel like it. But it also feels good, and then I don't understand my handwriting even, so I don't know why I'm doing this.
It's like going to someone's purse, you know.
Yeah.
What you'll find is maybe not the best. So now I have some like wrapping up questions I'm doing in every podcast. So the first one is, if you could go back to your childhood and meet your younger self and your parents, what would you like to tell them, your parents?
Let's go to the beach.
Yeah, okay.
When I have, I think I found something very special with my parents going to bodies of water. I have this memory of a moment at my house where there was a big fight. I don't remember the details, but I feel my parents were fighting, but me and my brother were like part of it. We were feeling it. I don't know if we were directly involved or not. And my mom said, just let's go to the beach, and we just all got in the car in the middle of the fight, and we were right to the beach, and it was winter, and I mean the beach is like 20 minutes from my house, so it wasn't like, you know, a sunny day. It was kind of cloudy, and we arrived to the beach, and we all each went into our direction and spent a couple of hours at the beach, and then came back, and that was the end of the fight.
Wow.
And this power of bodies of water to almost caress like the emotions and move them and massage them, that it's really powerful.
Wow, that's very poetic, and also you're coming back to nature, right? To connecting with its strength, and also water being connected with sadness, and the ocean with depth, like connecting with the emotions and feeling them, and that's very poetic. Life experience. And now, what would you say to yourself, to your younger self?
You're gonna be surprised all your life. It's super cool. I have this image of me as a kid and just very small in this photo. I don't have a lot of photo of me as a kid, but this one that comes to me, I think I was maybe 3 or 4, and to see like this spark in my eyes and this realization that is there always. That I feel like if I see myself at 80 or I see myself at 4, there is something that is always the same, and that's me. And
that's connected with the surprise.
Yes, it's connected to the surprise. That
sounds connected with research.
Maybe.
There's this view of passion, because some say, okay, find your passion. When you find it, then you'll be complete and blah blah blah. But others say, so yeah, what is that? Like, what is passion? Is it like a rock that you find in a forest, or so they aim more to what we have already as children, as kids, like is curiosity. So just allow your curiosity to explore, and when you're curious about something and you put energy into it, it becomes interest. And when you put interest into it, like, it becomes some research, and as you go through it and you become good at it, then it can become a passion or not. But I really like that view.
Yes, and I feel that anything that I am going to become, and maybe sometimes people say like, oh, this discourse on passions that you were referring to, it's like, oh, this passion, because when you have this passion you also become good at it. And in a way I feel like when we have this pressure to become some things, we already automatically not, because the only thing that we are is when we are follow this desire to do something, and then there is what makes us good at something is repetition, but we can only repeat if we are enjoying. I mean, we can also force ourselves in some moment to because I want to write, and even if today I'm not feeling it, I will sit down and do it because it will feel good. I know I have the experience that it feels good, but to see it as something that needs to be forced or a requirement, I think kills all the magic of just enjoying doing something and repeating it and repeating and repeating it, and in that repetition discovering the depth. It makes me think about some very beautiful insights that we came out once in a process circle around freedom, that there is this illusion sometimes that when we don't make decisions, we are free, because in a way we are sitting in the whole of our life and there are all these different doors and we could go in any door, so we are free. But actually when we choose a door and we open that door and we enter in that door, then all this other universe appears, and that is really the possibility to live our freedom, because when we are not expressing our freedom also by choosing, we are not free, because we are not choosing, we are not so for me to have passion is to decide, okay, I am going to enter this door and I'm going to go deep into it, and in that a path opens up, a path that wasn't there before, and then you go walk it, and that's the expression of passion.
Walking the path. Enjoying the walk as well, right? Okay, the next question is, if you could teach one thing to the whole humanity, what would it be?
Oof, it's a tough one. I don't know if I would teach something to the whole humanity, but I think I would do an invitation which would be live together. Live together. It's the most shaking experience that I've had, that we have, even if it's just this is why with our families is so strong, but to live with different people, with people that have different experiences and are with different galaxies, is what opens up the possibility to learn, and to learn things that cannot be taught. So
yeah, community in the wider sense, no? Not just like, okay, necessarily being together in a place all the time, but So I heard this recently, that one of the most important factors of living a longer and healthier life is actually living in community, which means you're not alone with what's happening, with your pain, with your struggles. You can share and you can be supported. And also, talking about the elderly, there was this study that done in Japan, in a small town where they were past 105, 107 years of age, and that the elders had a role there. It's not like, okay, now your kids are out of the house, you are retired, so you don't have a job, and then where's the purpose? It's lost. But if you can find the purpose, like, okay, you have Tuesday or every evening with your elderly friends as well, and also like just being the elder, being parents, being grandparents, supporting your children with their children, that creates also like this will to live, because you're useful as well. You can support, not just like be supported, and that's something that is very rejected in this part of the world. I mean, like the east, no, west. So community, I also agree, and it's also been scientifically proven.
I'm glad.
That is, very, very important. It's just like that. Also, Gabor Mate talks about psychological aspects of people that are getting cancer. Is that there's a stress that cannot be shared in a way or other. They're stressed, and the stress levels, if you share that you're feeling like this or like that, they come down. But if people have no one to share it with, that's when the cancer, the body starts to act differently, to attack itself. So yeah.
Yes, and we see this all the time. Like when we are staying alone in our head with what is painful, it becomes this bigger story, as we were saying, and it gets very sticky. And by the time that we sit with someone and say, "Okay, I'm going through this, and I'm feeling this, and I'm telling myself this," like there is a okay, and many times we find the other person saying, "Oh yeah, I know this feeling, and I feel the same." And then that's knowledge, because it's something that we haven't shared, that becomes shared, and then there is something to observe, and with that we can do something with it. Many times also the shame of saying the king is naked with whatever topic, and then when the king is naked, okay, and then what, and then can get dressed or can stay naked, but we said it,
Yeah.
and this feeling of like, something is not being said. It's such a relief to share.
Yeah. I hear my kids are coming from school. Let's see if we can do the last questions. What have you learned in your time here at El Juego?
I think some of it I've already shared, but so much.
Yeah.
So much. It evokes a lot of memories. But just one thing that I would add is that in one sentence it would be that I have the whole humanity inside, and that I can tap on the wisdom, on the perspective of all my ancestors to live this experience that I have now, and that is a lot of strength that comes with it. I think the big difference before I was at El Juego and now is that I can almost feel behind me all my ancestors with me, supporting me, and so then I walk with all of their stories as well, and that is very enriching as an awareness in this lifetime to be walking with all this wisdom, and to also be sometimes the first person in all this generation to do something or to experience something, and at the same time have all their wisdom with me. And that is both exciting and discovering, and also connecting.
Okay, and the last question. So now after that I can play with Ilham. In one word, how would you describe the community?
In one word. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Allowed. Yeah, thank you, Gio.
Thank you, Luis.
For coming.
And yes, very excited for this podcast to come out and to be listening to all the episodes.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing it.
And I'm sure I'm gonna invite you for the next chapters and the different topics that we're gonna share.
Excited to do it again. Thank you.